tanks, we have planes, we have all sorts of things. And if there's any protester who wants to come out, they will be met with very big force.
This weekend, protests across the country, including here in Indiana, both this weekend and this past week outside the NBA Finals, building on the ongoing protests in Los Angeles over the president's immigration policy and amidst the plans he made for that military parade this weekend, as the president and our military also monitor the escalating tensions in the Middle East. Here's more from our Washington bureau and correspondent Vinay Simlat.
We're very proud that the National Guard and the Marines are on the streets defending the ICE agents, and they will continue to do that.
On Wednesday, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was in the hot seat over the Trump administration's use of federal troops in Los Angeles.
This is not only, I think, illegal, but also a diminution of the readiness and the focus of the military.
President Donald Trump ordered 4,000 California National Guard into Los Angeles to help ICE agents with immigration enforcement and protect federal buildings during protests. The president also activated 700 U.S. Marines, but the head of the task force says the Marines are still in training and weren't in L.A. on Wednesday.
If we didn't bring in the National Guard and the Marines, you would probably have a city that was burning to the ground.
And across the country, demonstrators have mobilized in New York, Denver, St. Louis, and Las Vegas.
No justice, no peace.
The California governor says federal troops in Los Angeles have made the situation worse. The Migration Policy Institute estimates about 950,000 people living in LA County don't have legal immigration status. That includes people who work as cooks, as hotel employees, as nannies, among other jobs. In Washington, I'm Vinay Simlat. Back to you.
Vinay, thanks. Recently, we spoke with Indiana Congressman Andre Carson about some of the concerns he has about the president's policy on immigration.
And we know that there are serious ethical and legal concerns with the Trump administration's mass deportation. But people who are here legally and who have roots in our great community, children, and whose values they've adopted, Hoosier values, American values, being detained without due process, to me, is un-American. We're supporting the immigrant community. We stand by them. They have been great contributors to our society. Have there been bad actors? Of course, there are bad actors whenever you have a mass of human beings anywhere. But the reality is that we cannot use this to push a very destructive, anti-immigrant, and xenophobic agenda.
That was Congressman Andre Carson. Meantime, in a statement on this week's protest, Senator Todd Young said we have a responsibility to enforce immigration law and protect innocent lives and property in this country. He says rioting, looting, and attacking police officers is never an acceptable response. Meantime, we saw protests here in Indy outside of the NBA Finals this past week, a peaceful but sizable protest right across the street from the field house just as fans were arriving. The FOP president issued a statement saying, quote, while on the national stage during one of the largest viewed sporting events around the world, our professional police officers of Indianapolis continued to stand the line for individual and collective rights and safety. He says we applaud our officers, IMPD leaders, and the residents of Indianapolis for showing how it can and should be done. We'll have much more later on the economic impact of the NBA Finals being here in Indy this week. Also this week, Indianapolis Mayor Joe Hogsett is facing more calls for his resignation after that heated council meeting Monday in which one of the women accusing his former chief of staff of sexual harassment was forcibly removed from the room.
Do not put your hands on me.
Don't even do that. Don't even do that.
No. Let her stay.
That was the scene at Monday's council meeting as former Hogsett staffer Lauren Roberts was removed from the council chamber. The next day, our Russ McQuaid spoke one-on-one with Indy Mayor Joe Hogsett and with the latest council member to call for the mayor's resignation. This amidst the ongoing scandal over sexual harassment allegations made against Hogsett's former chief of staff Thomas Cook and the investigative report that's led to even more questions for Indy's mayor.
Do you perceive a loss of confidence in your leadership of the city over this whole issue?
Not at all. If you don't think you did, I think that's reason enough to say that you need to resign.
Republican Josh Bain has joined two council Democrats in saying the quiet part out loud that Hogsett should resign.
There comes a time where you have to take a stand.
Last summer, when the allegations had been out for just a month, Mayor Hogsett told me the Cook affair would not detract from his agenda to carry out city business. But Tuesday, organizers of a homeless initiative had to tell the mayor to stay away from their press briefing, afraid that the Monday night city-county council chaos when a Cook accuser was told her time to talk was up would overshadow their message.
We didn't really want what happened last night to interfere with this important initiative related to our homeless brothers and sisters. There's a lot of busy things going on in our city. You'd like to have a mayor who can be at the various events and do what needs to be done to move the ball forward.
Councilor Frank Mascari is moving the ball forward by inviting Lauren Roberts to address his council committee next Tuesday. You will have the floor as long as you need, reads Mascari's text message today to Roberts. You will be the first person to speak and take your time. I feel your voice should be heard. We will see you Tuesday. That's when Mascari's committee will talk about paying another couple $100,000 to the outside law firm for the Cook investigation, even though the council still hasn't seen all the information that was dug up, which led to the clearing of the mayor of any wrongdoing.
Some of the headlines that came out of the investigation committee was, okay, well, the mayor's office was legally compliant. It's like, well, that's a pretty low standard to hold ourselves to. And then we find out all this information was left out of the report, and we're just left to question all of these things.
The buck settles at the top, and so he would be responsible for that. That would lead to his resignation.
That was Russ McQuaid reporting. Now, in that one-on-one interview, Russ also asked the mayor about the text messages that came from the mayor himself that were left out of that investigative report. Messages about poetry and relationships that his former staffers said made them feel uncomfortable.
Is it appropriate for a supervisor to engage in nighttime text messages of a personal nature with subordinates?
Well, we live in a 24-hour world, both campaign and, frankly, the business of government. So it is not unusual to perhaps become very familiar in the conversational style of people working together very closely. Again, it's a 24-hour cycle, and so you get to know one another very quickly. So I can understand, though, in retrospect, how my comments, text messages, may have been taken out of context.
Would you accept a motion of censure from the City County Council?
That's up to them.
Well, what would you think of that? Would that be a legitimate compromise? A slap on the wrist?
Yeah, I'm not going to negotiate. The council can do whatever it so chooses.
Do you perceive a loss of confidence in your leadership of the city over this whole issue?
Not at all. I think that at the end of the day, people understand that the decisions that I've made as it relates to Thomas Cook and his misbehavior were based on what I knew at the time. The types of conversations that I have with other staff and campaign workers, in my estimation, have always been never intended to cause anybody to feel discomfort or uncomfort. So I hope I have comported myself in ways that the people of Indianapolis can support.
Would you support the release of the entire investigation, not just the final report, but everything gathered by the attorneys in this investigation? Would you support release of that to lay it all out on the table and clear the air?
No, I have never supported releasing confidential documents for information that has been obtained with anonymity and confidentiality surrounding it. Now, others have chosen to reveal some of that information, but I don't support. I support protecting the integrity of the process.
The integrity of the process, but what about the integrity of the people involved, especially when they are calling? They're saying, I'm willing to give up that non-disclosure. I want to see it all come out too. So it almost looks like you're protecting yourself as opposed to protecting them.
No, I'm not protecting myself at all. I'm protecting the process. It calls for anonymity and confidentiality for both complaining parties as well as witnesses.
We've got more of that interview on our website, and we'll talk about it with our panel coming up as well. Meantime, this week at the State House, the Braun administration is asking all state agencies to tighten their belts after recent budget cuts at the state level. State House reporter Hannah Adamson explains what that means for the services Hoosiers rely on.
Many state agencies saw a 5% budget cut due to a roughly $2 billion revenue shortfall. However, economists and lawmakers I spoke to say many state agencies could ultimately see their budgets reduced by 10%. As Indiana faces a tough economic stretch through 2027, the Braun administration will now hold back an extra 5% of all state agency budgets. That's on top of the 5% budget cuts already in place.
I'm not sure that Governor Braun has much choice since we have to balance our budget.
The General Assembly gave the governor power to withhold funds this past session. Republicans say it was a necessary step to set aside money in case the economy takes a turn for the worse. However, economist Michael Hicks says the move will affect public services.
There's no way that you can cut 10% of a budget for FSSA or Department of Child Services or state troopers and not have an effect on services. It's naive to suppose otherwise.
Democrats say they're concerned many agencies are already stretched thin as is, and that resources to support public safety, the environment, and health care could be affected.
It's really unconscionable to me that our most vulnerable Hoosiers are going to see even tougher times.
These are critical programs that we can't afford to have Hoosiers across the state suffer from a health perspective, physical or mental health, or not have access to food.
Higher education also on the chopping block. With the state cutting spending for universities 15 years in a row, Hicks says this will be the deepest one-year cut any state university will face.
We've already seen that Ivy Tech layoffs at I think most state agencies, or at least they will not be filling vacant positions as people retire.
Agencies will have until the end of this month to submit a spending plan that takes into account the 5% mandatory reserve. Reporting from the Indiana State House, I'm Hannah Adamson.
Hannah, thanks. This past week was the first IU Board of Trustees meeting since Governor Braun replaced 3 board members with his own picks now that he has the power to do so in the new state budget. The new board announced it wants to keep tuition the same for undergrad in-state students the next 2 years, but graduate students will see a 2% tuition increase. IU officials say that increase for grad students is to support market demand and allow the university to maintain programs at a sustainable cost. Also at that meeting, the new board approved changes to a policy on public expression, a policy that was first adopted after last summer's demonstrations on Dunn Meadow. Students and activists protesting the war in Gaza took over the green space for several weeks and had several clashes with campus police. The initial policy prohibited spontaneous gatherings in public campus spaces. The new policy allows spontaneous gatherings and demonstrations, but still requires prior approval for setting up tents or stages. Coming up next, we'll talk with our panel about the president and the many protests this week across the country and here in Indiana. And later, part of my interview with the Pacers CEO about the impact of Indiana hosting the NBA Finals when we come back.